Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the PoliticsJOE Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Campbell.
Hello.
Ava Santina.
Good afternoon.
And Bonnie Blue.
Hi.
Hi. Bonnie, thanks for joining us. We're
Thank you
talking
for having
because your Channel 4 documentary, documenting the sort of last 6 months of your life,
Yes.
out on TV now. We went to the screening a couple of days ago as well, so we've all seen it.
Have you booked in a therapy session yet?
There's a group discount for 3 of us.
Yeah.
You'll notice Ed didn't come to the screening. He wanted to what?
In
Watch it in
privacy.
privacy? Yeah.
I wasn't invited.
I think he watched it in the office,
I didn't
actually.
watch in the office's work.
Is that why there's a pile of tissues?
Bonnie, reflecting on the film, do you
Yeah.
consider yourself funny? Do you consider yourself, I've seen a lot of the commentary afterwards, like dangerous is a word that gets used, or do you just think you're better at what you do than anybody else?
Yeah, I'm better than everybody else in what I do. Yes, I'm funny, but it's not dangerous. Like, I'm very light-hearted, and it's as simple as everyone I film with is consenting. No one's getting hurt. It's quite the opposite. It's very enjoyable for me and everyone involved. These much bigger things in the world to be crying about and making TikToks about. So people make out either I'm the victim or the people I've slept with are victims. It's like nobody is a victim. No one's crying victim. No one is saying they're being hurt, but the people that are not involved are the ones that are saying, oh my God, this is dangerous.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I've been reading a lot of the coverage over the last few days, and I
Yeah.
think that there have been a number of female journalists who have written about it. And do you think that perhaps you're being asked to hold a burden for a lot of the perhaps anger that women feel towards like the general violence against women and girls? Do you think that perhaps that is being maybe unfairly put onto you?
100%. Like, unfortunately, terrible things happen to women, but that's not me. I'm not the one that has done them terrible things to them. I'm not the one responsible, for what's happened to them. But yeah, I'm the one that's getting blamed. Instead of using their voice to promote, oh my God, the amount of men that's hurting women or have put women in a difficult situation, they're not talking about them. They're not talking about that guy. They're talking about me. They're saying I'm responsible. And that's just not the case at all. Like I said, I'm responsible for consensual, enjoyable sex. The rest I'm not really to blame or responsible for.
So, like, we're here talking about the film. There's
Yeah.
also been, like, a lot of media about the film. But I wondered if you were running the interview and you had the opportunity to kind of write the first question or, like, answer a question that you wanted to answer. What would you like us to ask you? What would you like to talk about? What do you think the most interesting things that are in the film are?
I don't know, it's hard. I mean, obviously the 1,000 got everyone intrigued. Everyone just wants to know what I'm like and what I'm like behind camera, really. And there's no short answer. I always just say I'm normal. That's a very, very boring response. But as a whole, I'm very normal, down to earth. And I'm not what people expect, I think, when they meet me in person.
Do you think people misunderstand who you are?
Yeah, and I obviously play into that. Don't get me wrong. Like, I sit there saying, I want your husband. I want barely legals. Like, I'm fully aware of why people think what they do. I'm also not bothered. I just find it quite funny and entertaining. Like, in between these TikToks I make, I'm cracking up, I'm laughing. I'm having to like, right, get your shit together, get this TikTok done. And people obviously don't see that. And everything I say, I do genuinely believe, and I can back up with reasons of why I believe it. But I say it in a very short, clickbaity way to get the views. And I know when you're scrolling on TikTok, you've only got a few seconds to get someone's attention. So I use catchy words like barely legals, 18s, virgins. It's a marketing technique.
So you say you believe all the things you say versus that's the character of Bonnie Blue.
So like, I do believe it. Yeah, like I'll say it in a much harsher tone. I'll say it in a lot more clickbaity way. But like the things I say, like I do believe, but I will say it in a more exaggerated way.
So if you were to say, so if Bonnie Blue's saying,
Yeah.
I want 100 barely legals,
Yeah.
what do you say that's not clickbaity for that?
I mean, the whole thing's clickbaity.
But if you believe it, like what would like the normal, like the...
I'm like, oh, I do genuinely enjoy sleeping with people that are younger and people that haven't experienced sex. So like I do believe that and I want that, but I'd explain it as I enjoy sleeping with 18-year-olds because I enjoy teaching them, I enjoy educating them in the bedroom. But obviously online, you'll just hear me say, I want barely legals.
It was the director, Vic Silver, in the Q&A after the screening.
Yeah.
She was talking about you in kind of like almost business terms, right? Like as a
Yeah.
like as a marketer, as someone who's conscious of their image, curating it,
Yeah.
and as you've just said there, right? Like curating it to generate the maximum amount of attention to presumably then translate into like business and eyeballs on the work that you do.
Yeah. It's I'd say I'm becoming more, I guess, softer in like some of my interviews, because when I first started, I was aware I only had a very short amount of time to promote myself, to get my name out there. So I would say the most clickbaity, the most, I say outrageous, but like I still say outrageous things now, but I say it probably a bit softer is what I used to say. But yeah, it's very clearly a business.
This is going to probably get into too much of the mechanisms, but I mean, I watched it probably a year ago. You were on This Morning and you were talking about something you just mentioned there, about teaching younger men how to have sex. What are the mechanisms of that? I mean, how would you describe it when you're in a scene, when you're in one of these, when you're in an interaction, when you're having sex with one of these men?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, what are you teaching them?
So with education as well, people have been like, oh, well, I'm not going to schools and stuff like that. No, I don't mean like that. But I just mean
History.
history
Politics,
lesson.
geography.
More PE, physical activity.
Teach first, actually.
Do you know what, though? If you did hold a conference that was, this is how you put a condom on a banana, I think that people would pay
People would more
attention.
listen.
Yeah.
Like sex, genuinely, like, is a slight separate, I guess, answer, but as a whole, like sex education at school is shit.
Totally
It's from
agree.
middle-aged teachers
Totally
think
agree.
you have not been laid. They don't talk about, you know what, if you do think you've got something, here's where you get tested. Here's how you go about it. Here's what you do when you do get tested. You get the results within 24, 48 hours and you can take medicine. And, if you do have, unprotected sex, this is the next steps. Like, there isn't any of that. And there's no conversation on
Very
how
clinical, isn't it? How it's being taught in school.
My sex ed was just fully like, here's how not to get someone pregnant. It wasn't like, there was nothing about consent.
Well, I was at Catholic school. What do you think ours
Yeah,
was?
well,
It was like no entry, only immaculate conception.
Say no. Just say no.
Yeah, just say no. Yeah.
But it's unrealistic. And when the teacher tries to teach you about sex education, you're just ignoring it. You're like, oh, what do you know? It's, you're not with it nowadays. You're not understanding. So it should come from someone that's a lot more relevant and someone that's going to listen, because otherwise it's just dismissed.
It's probably better to get someone from outside of the school to come in and teach those things, right? Like, it's probably better to have someone external, because if, I don't know, your biology teacher, your form tutor, whoever is, the person you're meant to kind of, possibly discipline you, teach you other things, and then they're talking to you about sexual intercourse, I feel like it's a recipe for disaster. If you have
Which
someone
they hate
external,
doing, by the way.
Yeah, I'm
Because
sure they're not
my
that keen
friends
on it.
teach sixth form and they hate doing it. Like, I mean, can you imagine
It's
once a year?
embarrassing. Like, it's awkward. Like, it is an awkward conversation. I mean, I'd love to go like to schools and educate people on sex, but like, at the moment, especially because I do a lot of barely.
How do you think that would go down?
Yeah, I don't quite think I'd be let in at the moment. So maybe for like a few years' time, 10 years' time.
Yeah.
Ultra liberal education policy.
Yeah.
I have
Get
some
Bonnie
great
in.
connections, actually. I'm going to ring them up after this. But look, Bonnie's offered.
Yeah, there's a holes aren't available that day, but a mouth is.
Yeah.
To teach.
So someone in like a different arena then, politics, business, sport, if we're talking about attention and we're talking about marketing,
Yeah.
what do you think they could learn from you and like your approach to attention, your approach to marketing yourself, like sort of translatable lessons?
I don't know. You've got to be yourself, because then you don't trip up, because everyone's waiting for like you to cancel you or try and find where you've said something different, so they can be like, hey, this isn't true. Or so you've got to be yourself and you've got to be genuine, but you've got to understand how to word things and how to promote yourself. Like, it's one thing making a sex tape or making a product, and then it's another thing getting it out there so the world knows to purchase it.
Yeah.
Do you think that the algorithms are pushing people to do that, like to be more extreme in how they promote themselves? Like, do you think that you're sort of you're working against or with, like, I mean, these giant tech companies that are platforming you?
I'd say against. I get like so many accounts banned all the time. Like, I've probably this month alone lost well over 100 accounts.
Really?
It's, yeah, like obviously I get reported all the time, and my accounts come and go all the time because.
So you must be like constantly making new ones, right? It's like a replacement process.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes I'm on TikTok and they're like, I've just banned this. I've just, reported this girl, or I've just made it so I don't see her content, and she's popping up again. It's like, yeah, it's because another account. Like, it's in these. You could be saying, oh, I'm going to ban your accounts every day, and I'm still going to pop up 2 more accounts. Like, it's
so interesting, isn't it? Because all we talk about is how, like, these big social media platforms, they will want to show you extreme content, whether that is sex, whether that is violence, over and over, because it profits them. So it that works totally counter to what we're talking about. We've just been talking a load of shite then, clearly, haven't we?
Well, I
Because
think
if you're
it's
being deplatformed.
it's a balancing act, isn't it? Because obviously somewhere like X that has kind of sort of absorbed Elon Musk's quite libertarian attitudes to free speech, doesn't really have limitations on the type of content that can be
But
posted.
the content now, like my Twitter used to be like, well, you could have a good wank on that before. And then now it's because of the age restrictions. It's just like the photos and videos are just no longer there.
Oh, since Friday with the Online Safety
Yeah.
Act.
Good time for the documentary to come out though, once
Yeah.
that restriction
Yeah.
came in.
We were wondering if that was planned, if they had the foresight on
Perfect
that.
timing.
Yeah.
Because obviously OnlyFans has age verification, has always
Yeah.
had age verification. Those social media companies haven't. And I think we spent a lot of time actually talking about porn this week. It was sort of the main thing we spoke about in relation to that act, and whether or not people want to provide their identity, whether or not they want to provide their credit card information. But the other side of that conversation is, pretty regular social media use, people on Reddit, people on Twitter being denied access to platforms that don't actually contain, pornography. It's like people are swearing or posting things that could be construed as over
Or
18.
consuming alcohol.
Yeah,
I mean, like
exactly.
like the r/beers thread on Reddit, you now have to get
know.
age verification
Yeah.
to go on.
It just seems like such a massive overreach. I don't know. I'd be interested to hear your perspective on it, because obviously, like, age verification is very important to what you do.
I think they should be at age verification, but I think you need to understand they're going to find it anyway.
Yeah.
So I really think, the age verification is fine, but they are going to still be watching it. Yeah, it's going to be a bit more difficult, but I see it as like my parents would give me alcohol at a young age because they know if they didn't, I was probably going to go and find something a lot stronger. So they'd give me like a Smirnoff Ice or like this Echo Falls, like a very like low percentage wine, because they knew if not, I'd probably be getting someone to get me a bottle of vodka from the shop. And I sort of think it's a little bit like that. You sort of think you've resolved the issue, but now they're going to be watching things and you've got less control. It's probably a website with all the leaks and all the content that's not, Pornhub and like Twitter still had certain restrictions, especially Pornhub with the content you could post and what was on there. Whereas if they're now not able to access that, they're going to be going to other sites with a lot more extreme content, which isn't being sort of thoroughly checked.
And taking more risks as well to access that content, like using a dodgy VPN, going to dodgier sites that don't have the kind of stringent regulations or the incentive to check that the content is legal and safe.
A lot of those free VPNs, the way they work is they trade your IP address to somebody else, right? So like, you can get it for free and you can say that you're in Belgium, you can say that you're in Asia or wherever, but in exchange, they're either selling your data and that's how they're making money from it, or they're reciprocating and your IP address is being used by somebody else. And I think, as let's say, a young teenage boy who understands that if he gets a VPN, he can go and watch porn again, but isn't tech savvy enough to understand those things, it actually possibly becomes an even more dangerous thing for them to be doing, let alone, possibly accessing like dark web, all the nasty shit that's out there, rather than, by comparison, relatively tame content.
I wondered, when we're talking about the kind of the algorithm promoting more extreme content, you say in the documentary you started out by camming, and that's just you by yourself versus what you end up doing with, you say, 7,000 men in a day. What did you see you creating when you started? And did you ever see it getting to this point?
No, never. Like, I thought no one would ever know about it. It's just going to be a little side hustle, a little bit of extra money.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Yeah. Genuinely, it started off as just like, I didn't want to go back to an office job. So I was like, all right, I'm going to give this a go. And then I realized I actually quite enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I actually enjoyed speaking to people and building a relationship. So then it sort of, escalated to OnlyFans. And then I wanted to make my content more relatable because I really enjoyed speaking to people online. And the biggest comment and the biggest, I guess, criticism I was getting is like, this isn't relatable. That guy's got perfect penis. They've got perfect body and they know how to perform. They're like, I can't last 10 seconds, or I've got a small penis, or this is how I am. And I was like, okay, how can I make it more relatable? Which is when I started sleeping with strangers, random people. And it sort of just snowballed from there. So it was never, I want to sleep with 1,000 people on day one. It was a gradual increase to that. But the first sort of gangbang I did was at spring break last year. And I shared my room number online. I was like, look, just queue up because it's my last day here. Like, I want to see how many I can get through. And I just wanted to share my holes with them. And by the end of the night, it was like early hours in the morning. I was getting so tired and there's still 19 guys left. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do a big train. Let's all just go one after the other. So my first big gangbang just happened by mistake. And then after I did one, I was like, okay, I want to do more.
Does everyone sorry, this is just a human interest question. Does everyone finish?
No.
Right.
God, some of them, like, even when I've done events and it'll be like one after the other, I'm not making comment. I'm like, God, do I need to Google this? Like, I start getting a bit nervous, but it's because everyone's so different. And they come in, some of them have just had a wank before because they wanted to last longer. Some of them are that nervous that they're not able to finish. and then they get in their head. You know, the more you're trying to perform, and it's the same with like women and men. If you're trying to come and you're really thinking about it in your head, it becomes harder and harder to finish. So no, they don't all
If
come.
you're not relaxed,
Well,
I can't
that's a
imagine.
very realistic depiction of sex, because I've heard you talk about your content being relatable before, but I've never actually heard it in those sort of terms. That sort of clicked something in my brain where I'm like, oh, yes, because actually you don't finish every time.
No.
And actually, yeah, men do get nervous, and, you know,
Some of them
sometimes
come in
things
and they
don't
can't
work.
get hard. And it's completely fine. And like,
They're gutted when they get to the front of the
I know, I do feel really sorry for them. I'm like, look, just go to the side, like try and sort yourself out, or I can give you a hand job or blow job. But even like in my personal sex life, I don't always finish. Or sometimes the guy could go soft after a little bit. And like you do, especially as a woman, you start thinking, oh, maybe they don't find me attractive, or maybe they're thinking about something else. But it can happen and it's normal.
When you were saying about posting your room number,
Yeah.
I immediately sort of thought about your safety because I think it was in the doc. There's a line where you talk about sort of not being out in public as much as you used to be,
Yeah.
worried about your own well-being. I mean, is there an element of concern? I mean, do you have like security when you do something like that? How does that work?
When I first started, no. Zero security.
That's crazy.
I know. It
Do you
wasn't
look back on that and think, what the fuck was I doing?
a little bit, but also I think because everyone I meet's so nice. And yeah, it is me being naive, but genuinely everyone is so sweet and super respectful. And when I first started, obviously I didn't have as much of a big name, so it wasn't like, yeah, fair enough, I should have had security, but I went into it quite, I guess, obliviously. And even when I did Freshers, which was September last year, I was staying in the Airbnb that I shared my room in. And I did it for 2 weeks. Every day I shared my exact location. I then slept there at night. And yeah, after that, I was like, okay, I need.
Did it smell?
Yeah, did it smell?
Oh, yeah, of course.
God.
I don't know how to use a washing machine. So, like, I didn't change the bed sheets.
You don't know how to use washing machines.
No. See, when people say I'm taking women back hundreds of years, I'm like, I can't cook, I can't clean, I can't do anything.
Just the lads coming in on day 14, that must have been tough, surely.
The thing is, though, like, you just end up, like, I don't care. Like, I'm so tired by the end of that day. Like, some days I would see the amount of people that are sweating, they're getting cum, spit, just about every bit of fluid, bodily fluid on these bed sheets. And I think, right, I'm definitely not sleeping in this bed tonight. And then it gets to like 11, 12, 1 a.m. and I think, no, I'm already comfy now. I remember waking up and I had like a empty condom wrapper stuck to my face. And I was like...
With respect, that's one of the worst things I've ever heard.
It's almost, it's more challenging than the actual sex stuff, to be honest
Like
with you.
sometimes I do love, if I've just been railed in a bed, like I really enjoy sleeping in that bed, like knowing like what I've done there, like the smell of it.
But is that with a partner that you know? Or
Like
do you
hit
mean in
miss.
general?
Like, yeah, with a personal partner, I definitely would enjoy sleeping in the bed they fucked me in. And then afterwards, like, it depends, like, because it did get to a point by the end of these 2 weeks, I'm like, I could rinse these out. Like, there's so many stains, smells, and everything coming off these bed sheets. That I wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into bed tonight. You know, when you just comfy.
No.
Well, okay, I'll say something more relatable. Have you ever gone to declutter your wardrobe and you stick everything on your bed and you think, I'm going to sort this before I go to sleep?
Okay.
Or if you're washing or anything's on your bed and then you go into bed that night and you just sort of think, I'm just going to squeeze into this side.
Okay, yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
You meant...
So that's your version.
Yeah, yeah. I guess we're the same in a way. You mentioned like the camming before you started doing full-on porn.
Yeah.
Before that, you were in, was it recruitment in
Yes.
the NHS?
I did a bit of NHS recruitment and private sector as well.
When you were like younger than that and thinking about what you wanted to do and who you wanted to be, who did you want to be when you were younger?
Either I considered going into dancing. I enjoyed dancing as a child. Wanted to be a detective, but then I realised you can't just be a detective. It's sort of a bit more of a long-winded way.
On the beat for a bit.
Yeah, and like when you watch the crime documentaries, that's not necessarily happening in the area you're in. So I was like,
Yeah, but if you're advertising your room, Bonnie, like it could be. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but if I'm the one that's been murdered, can't do my own. Can't also be the detective.
yeah.
Yeah, I do a lot of comebacks, but that one wouldn't happen. Or I wanted to be a midwife.
The ultimate cancellation. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
So when I finished school, went into my A-levels and everything was sort of focused around me being a midwife. And at the time I was working at Pound Stretcher and I was a dance teacher. And then I was sort of looking at the money I was earning from that. And I was like, I'm earning more money now being, Pound Stretcher, shop assistant and dance teacher than if I finished my 2 years of A-levels, 4 years of university to then go in a very competitive market for the NHS. And I was like, doesn't add up for me. And I can remember watching, and I think that was on Channel 4, One Born Every Minute.
Yeah.
And some of the women, couldn't deal with it. I was like, you're irritating me. And then I realised I'm not the most affectionate, compassionate person. So I don't think I would have made a good midwife.
I think it's not, you're not the only person that thinks about going and doing something super rewarding like that. I mean, you know, every day, I guess, bringing life into the world, how rewarding must that be?
And I'll just suck it up and put it in me. So it's similar, just not quite.
But they just go, the wages, it doesn't make sense. I'm going to go and do, could be anything else, right?
Yeah, I think because you're at school, obviously, for so many years, you're just sort of painted over what job do you want to go, what university do you want to go, and you sort of never really explained the other avenues. I'm not saying it's on the job list. It should say, you know, you can fuck 1,000 people and live happy. Like, but there should be more options of, you know, social media, or you could be a content creator, or you could go traveling after work. There's loads of things that, like, I could have done 2 years of A-levels and 4 years of university. Might not have got a job in midwifery.
Yeah.
It's not quite disingenuous to suggest that if a teacher is saying to a child, you have a realistic chance of becoming a really successful content creator, not even just like adult content, like a YouTuber.
I think it's the most
gamble.
It's the most common answer, isn't it?
No, but for sure. But the odds of making it are so
100%.
infinite, like so tiny.
Yeah.
So not quite disingenuous to like.
It's same with like
suggest
becoming,
that.
you know, if you wanted to go to Oxford, that you know, the slim pickings, you know, most schools only send 2 pupils maybe.
Yeah,
to
but surely
Oxford.
you've got more chance of going to Oxford than becoming a successful YouTuber.
Yeah.
But then I guess it depends what defines success, right? Because there are plenty, I mean, you're on the more extreme level of success, but there are plenty of influencers online who will pull in like 50K a year, and that is a very, very good salary, you know?
Yeah.
There's opportunity.
When you're not online, what do you like to do?
Quite outdoorsy. I'm not glued to my phone. I just enjoy, I'd say the boring things, but it's not boring, like boat trips, like snorkeling, scuba diving, anything that's just sort of different to what you'd expect Bonnie Blue to be doing.
You did a lot of, it looked like puzzles and like crafting things in the documentary.
I do enjoy like Netflix and chill, but also just enjoys things which are just quite therapeutic, and I enjoy that.
Bonnie, what's something that would surprise your followers about you that they don't know already?
I think my actual followers sort of know a lot. They know I go to bed with a teddy called Nelson. They know I've got 3 pets that I adore, and I love anything outdoorsy. I think it's more the haters that are shocked that I'm actually quite sweet, normal, and nice. But yeah, my actual followers, they sort of see what I get up to, and they speak to me a lot. So there's not much that I could say that would shock them when they don't know about me.
Do you have, this is going to sound like a very rude question.
Yeah.
Do you have female friends?
Yes.
You seem, because you come across to me like you would, but I think that your internet persona would suggest that you wouldn't.
Yeah, 100%. People think I hate women. They're like, what woman is traumatized, Bonnie, to hate women so much? I'm like, I don't hate them. It's just, if I'm looking at the bulk of my hate comments and the things I get online, and like 99% of that is middle-aged women that are not educated on the internet but think they know better than everybody else, of course that's where my hate's going to be targeted. And also I know they've got nothing better to do than make TikToks of me, so then pissing that sort of category off pushes me to go more viral.
So is it like a doubling down on that then? Because if you then react to those hate comments, you're then pushed back onto that timeline, and it's sort of like, is that the sort of the business model?
I want to say it's like the business model. It's just an easy way to market myself. Like, there's loads and loads of videos I do which are just targeted at like my followers and my fans. But then if I'm doing an event, I will say certain words to get things picked up and to get more views. And I explain that all the time that I do it, and then they still fall for it. So I think I really can't help you. I'm explaining to you why I'm saying this, and you still fall for it each time. Like, I did a video with a dwarf recently, and I was like, oh, I've slept with someone that's under 4 foot, blah, blah, blah. And I knew that I'd piss people off. I knew people would assume the worst. And there's like, she's just admitted with, you know, sleeping with a child. And then I obviously did additional videos and said it was a dwarf. And even then they was disgusted. I was like, oh, so is it okay then if I just walked down the street instead and took a video and photo like most people do? But because I had sex with a dwarf, you now think that's disgusting. It's like, I can't win no matter what I do. If I include people of different shapes and sizes, I'm in the wrong. And then if I sort of don't, oh, apparently I discriminate.
I guess there's an incentive. Is like the flip side, right? Is like a lot of these people will generate an income from creating content, slagging you off.
Yeah.
And then so you're kind of working almost in tandem. Like they might not. They don't actually care, but they've created a TikTok thing, like just like slagging body, but like you've become like it's like a cottage industry, right? It's like your immediate business, the people you employ, the people you work with, generating, they're like on your side almost.
Yeah.
And there's like the anti-Bonnie Blue industry, like the YouTubers and the podcasters who can just put Bonnie Blue did something mental in the title of their podcast, or you so like
Even
everyone,
national media outlets do it
yeah,
as well.
everyone, like, let's be honest, there's a reason you're here. We think people will click on this video to watch an interview with you. It's like you've become a shorthand, and there's such an industry around you, and it might not necessarily be people earnestly hating.
Yeah.
It's like they realize that there's a financial incentive.
They're going to get the view.
do
Yeah, like,
so.
I think there's a lot of people that say they hate me. They don't actually hate me. They just know it's going to be the video that gets the most views. But then there's also a lot of people that do genuinely hate me. But that's okay as well.
Would you say you're a wealth creator then?
A wealth creator. I mean, I
Like Stephen
definitely would
Bartlett.
say I've earned a lot of people a lot of money from
Yeah.
the views I get them.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that we're in a period of economic downturn, and you are a success story in terms of what you've earned and what you have contributed to the economy.
Yeah.
But I would say that you're spoken about in different terms to say a CEO of a bank. Does that bother you? Do you think that perhaps there should be more recognition for what you're contributing to the economy?
No, I'm not bothered.
Oh,
Genuinely. Wasn't bothered if a CEO of a band was like, this girl's a right slut. Like, it's genuinely doesn't affect me what people think or what people say. Like, and if I was, I wouldn't be in this job. And I think that's how I deal with hate so well, is because I'm not bothered if people are talking positively about me or negatively. The only thing I get really frustrated about is how stupid people are. Like, recently a comment that's been circling is that all the guys I sleep with should be on a register. They should have their address leaked because they're so disgusting. I'm like, no, they're not. They're just consenting adults. And that's what just frustrates me, is how people assume the worst all the time and then believe they're true. They've sort of said it so many times that I'm in the wrong, and the people I've sat with that are in the wrong. They start believing their own bullshit.
do you think that there's almost like a performative, prudish attitude towards sex work? Because, I mean, I think it's quite. Most people with who are conscious of the internet would know that most men are looking at porn. A large number of women are looking at porn, but I suppose there's quite a lot of performative outrage about I don't want my son looking at this, even though he's 25. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you feel that? Do you feel there's quite a performative outrage over it?
Oh yeah, people are so naive, like with what people are actually watching and what people are doing. And I said briefly in the documentary, like even for my parents, which I had a very open relationship with, I was sexually active a lot younger than what they thought. So that was a bit awkward, sat next to him, as I said, what age I lost my virginity. But
Was that the first time they heard that?
yeah. Wow. I mean, I think they might have, I've said it before on podcasts, but they don't watch like all my content. There was a few things in that doc when I sat next to him and I was like, oh my gosh, when I was showing my eyes how bloodshot they was after just taking so many shots in him.
That's tough.
Yeah, that was hard watching that with them. But I'm glad they watched it. And I said to him afterwards, like, look, I didn't know that much sex was going to be in there. So, like, I'm so sorry if you felt uncomfortable. And they was like, no, they always prefer to see, especially something that's going on like mainstream TV, see it before so they know what to expect. So then there's nothing people are saying behind their back that they don't already know. And that's how it's always been. Like before I did the 1,000, I told my family, hey, I'm going to be doing this. Expect the backlash, expect people are going to be saying things. And that's the only thing I can sort of do with my sort of family, is just keep them posted and let them know what I'm doing and what to expect.
What did they say to you after they'd watched it, after, we'd done the Q&A and we'd all
Yeah, really proud. They was like, God, you handle some of the questions really well. And they generally are just happy. They see how happy I am, and they see on stage how I'm smiling, and I'm, sort of in my element to a certain degree. So yeah, they was proud. And there was a few comments. He was like, oh gosh. But aside from that, they loved it.
What drives you to keep doing this?
I'm just happy. That's what, there's no, oh, I want to hit X amount of money, or I want to do this, or I want to hit X amount of views. Like every sort of goal or achievement I wanted to do, I've already hit. So now it's just that if I'm happy today, then I'll continue and so on. And I've said this a few times recently, that you can't get fixated on the future. You need to be focused on like now, what makes you happy today and tomorrow. Otherwise you become so complacent about day-to-day happiness, and that's the main focus. So as long as I stay happy, I'll stay driven, and if I no longer want to do it and it doesn't make me happy, then I'll stop.
That was the thing I picked up on. I can't remember whether it was the Times review or Unheard, one of the pieces I read. They were writing that they were kind of expecting to see you in a state of trauma, basically, after what's happened. And I think most people also saw the clips of the documentary about Lily Phillips, sort of in the immediate aftermath of what happened to her, and how she seemed really quite vulnerable, fragile in the immediate aftermath of what she'd done.
Yeah.
And in that piece of reporting, there was almost an element of shock that you could just be...
That's why I get more hate, though, because they want to watch it and see me traumatized. They want me crying, they want me breaking down, but that's just not me. And that's what frustrates people even more. And then they think, oh, we don't see the real Bonnie Blue. But it's just because I don't cry. And it's like, no, you've got to realize, like, I do this because I want to do it, and I genuinely am happy. And I know for most people that's even more disgusting. They want me to say I'm forced into it. They want me to say I'm, being pushed to do this. But the simple answer is, I love it. I do it because I enjoy it. So you're not going to see me breaking down. Yes, I can be tired. Yes, you can have bad days, good days. But as a whole, like 99% of the time, I'm just happy and I enjoy it.
Would you do it if it wasn't so lucrative?
What do you mean? So,
Like, so you're making unfathomable amounts of money. If you were making, like, let's say $1,000 a month, would you do it?
I mean, I wouldn't be able to afford to do it.
Okay, good. So let's say a living wage. Let's say if you were getting a standard living wage.
Yeah, like,
would you still do
enjoy this? Yeah, I genuinely am happy. But yeah, like, it costs. The reason I'm saying I have to push for money as well. Like, these things, when I do events, it costs a lot of money. It's not cheap.
I wonder when you look at people like, this is a massive tangent. People like Britney Spears and Jessica Simpson, like I feel like when we were growing up, they were sort of the ultimate sex symbols, and they were actually berated for being sex symbols.
Yeah.
But it felt like it was acceptable because I guess it was right up to the point of them having sex. But there was a large moral panic over what they were doing to young children and younger men, and how they were altering their brains. I think it was quite an American sort of Christian view of it. Do you think that there is a moral panic over what you're doing?
Oh, 100%. Everyone thinks what I'm doing is wrong. And you see a lot of women saying, oh, if this was a guy, it'd be a different story. No, and they make it as if, oh, if I was a guy, I'd be arrested. One, I wouldn't, as long as it's consensual. But guys sleep with girls all the time, and they get high-fived. They get like oh, go on, lad, well done. Because I'm a girl, I get more hate and backlash. But people like to make out if I was a guy, they'd be treated different. And these women like to make out they suddenly are really thoughtful and caring towards these men. It's like, no, you've just been dragging these men, talking shit about him. Now, suddenly, the reason you hate me is because, oh, if I was a guy, I'd be treated differently. So they just contradict themselves in the same sentence.
Would you see yourself as a feminist?
I actually hate this question.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
And now I actually hate you, Ava, now as well, actually.
Right.
So
No,
I also hate the question.
I
ask it though, because what you're setting out really is, you're suggesting that these women are being misogynistic towards you.
Yeah.
Because if a man was doing it, it would be perfectly reasonable. But because you're doing it, it's not.
Yeah.
And so that's why I ask you of like, sort of, where do you fit in terms of your because they would argue that you're not.
For sure.
But I would posit that possibly you are.
Yeah. See, well, you don't ever see an uproar about schoolgirls. Schoolgirls have always been sexualised. There's Britney Spears dressed up as a schoolgirl. Since it's Halloween, girls dress up as schoolgirls. But because I had sex with people that are, schoolboys, it's suddenly a massive issue. And they're like, oh my God, you're a predator for saying that. Schoolgirls, always been very highly searched. And these women have never caused an uproar for schoolgirls, being bent over the table and having sex.
I'm not sure. I think feminists might object to that image.
Yeah, but they're not, though. The videos they're making is about me sleeping with the schoolboys. Instead of using their time to make videos about schoolgirls, they're doing it about me sleeping with a schoolboy. So
I've thought about this before, is like the sort of the prevalence of the schoolgirl fantasy.
Yeah.
And what that reveals about sort of male sexuality. And I am also actually quite surprised that there isn't a sort of greater degree of interrogation of like its prevalence and why so many men are interested in that. I don't know what the reason for it is. Like,
I think because even like people that aren't schoolgirls dress up like Britney Spears, she wouldn't have been in school when she was dressing up as a sexy schoolgirl. But like it's like, a short skirt, a shirt tied up, like, you could make sort of any outfit sort of sexual. But the reason I don't like the question is because I'd say I'm either or. Like, yes, I want things to be equal. Yes, I think like the way women was treated in the past was absolutely disgusting. But if I say I am, everyone causes an uproar because, oh my God, I sleep with loads of people. So no matter how I answer the question, I'm in the wrong. And to be honest, like I couldn't give a shit. You will never see me on some sort of stomping down the streets with a flag talking about it. I feel like I've got better things to do.
Do we have a flag? Do we have a feminist flag?
Well, what do they even do nowadays? Flagging around a
sure.
tampon?
I think I just put my Doc Martens on and then people assume.
Must be a feminist. Must be.
Yeah. But do you know what I mean? Like if I say I am, like loads of articles now, it's like, oh, Bonnie's trying to get out of this by saying she's a feminist. It's like, no, I'm not. It's just I get asked about it. I answer the question. And now suddenly, they say, oh, she's trying to be the face of feminism. It's like, no, I'm not. I just get asked the question. I answer it. And then suddenly you want to escalate it. Now you hated on me for saying something positive about women. So it's like, okay, what do you want me to say? You're a wet wipe and you do nothing but clean the dishes. Then I'm in the wrong. Like
You're not cleaning the dishes as you.
No, I'm not,
said,
exactly.
yeah.
Wouldn't trust the racks.
No.
I feel like there is an element of truth of what you're saying, but also I asked you about this at the screening.
Yeah.
Like by going and doing that podcast with Tate, you are inserting yourself into that debate. Like he is high profile and he is known for saying very controversial things about women, being misogynistic, and obviously he has a plethora of sort of criminal charges against him that relate to rape, trafficking, charges which he denies, it has to be said.
Yeah.
So by going and doing that pod with him, it's not just a case of people are trying to project gender politics onto you, because he is very much a central character in that. And if you go and do that podcast with him, you're participating in that conversation as well.
The hate I got prior to meeting Andrew Tate was the exact same afterwards. It was already at that point. I was being blamed for everything, no matter what it was anyway. So me doing that didn't put me in that section any more than what I was already in.
What was it like?
Genuinely nice, sweet, respectful towards me. I can't say he's giving like that for everyone, but for me, turned up on time. He said, look, let me know if there's anything you don't want to talk about. Let me know if there's anything I say which makes you feel uncomfortable. And like, what more could I ask? It was a business meeting. He gave me respect during the meeting. And yeah, you can have a conversation, you can have a debate. But as a whole, there was things we agreed on. He worded things very cleverly, though. He wasn't saying he sort of would ever want his daughter doing what I'm doing. But I'm not doing any harm, so stop crying.
I watched the interview.
Yeah.
And it was interesting seeing him in that scenario because he looked quite disarmed, actually. It was like he wasn't expecting you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it felt like the answers that you were giving back to him, he didn't quite know how to respond to you at times.
Yeah. I think it's because usually when people interview him, whether they agree or not, they're a bit intimidated and they're sort of treading on eggshells. They don't want to say anything to piss him off. They want to get a good interview. They want to get a good lengthy one. So they really tread lightly, whereas I wasn't bothered. I couldn't care what he thought about me. Afterwards, I asked him to get on his knees for a photo. Like, he did say no, but I wasn't bothered about asking. And then made him do some cringy TikToks with me. And for other people, they probably wouldn't have asked. Even my team was a bit like, God, you can't ask him that. And I was like, so what? I'd ask someone else. So why can't I ask him to get on his knees?
Do you think there's an element of this? This is my read, and it might be completely wrong, but you could argue he is someone who appreciates people being at the top of their field, right? Like he has Hustlers University. He says, if you want to earn money, you go out there and earn it.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that there was a part of him, that looks at you and says, well, she's done that. She's achieved that.
Yeah. I think if I was to come forward in a couple of years and I was crying saying, oh my God, I didn't enjoy any of it, he'd be the first person to rinse me. But I own up what I do. I don't pretend that I'm not a slut. There's a lot of women, and I think as a whole, this is...
What do you mean by slut?
Huh?
What do you mean by slut?
I guess just sleeping around a lot, getting around, just having a lot of sex. And that's fine. Like, I don't see the word slut as an insult. I don't think other people should. If you want to have sex with a lot of people, then why be offended by the word? If that's what sort of the definition is, then, and you've enjoyed that sex, then own up to it. It's fine. And a lot of women sort of pretend they're not sex workers, but they are. They'll be the first one to go to the bar and start flirting with guys because they don't want to pay a drink. They're the first person to go to the bar and, go back with them because they think they're going to get a fancy holiday booked out of it or some clothes. And they pretend they're not a sex worker, but they're using their looks and they're using the fact they're a pretty woman to get what they want. Whereas I own up to it. I'm like, yeah, I would fuck my way to the top, no problem.
I think, when you talk there about the term slut and you say about sleeping with people, do you differentiate though between work and pleasure? Because you can enjoy your job.
Yeah.
Actually, I think the question that I'm asking is, I think the ultimate question that a lot of people are asking these days is, do you see sex work as work?
Not really. Like, yes, it is work. I'm turning up, God, if I went on a night out and wanted to sleep with someone, I'm not carrying the consent forms in my bag, getting them to fill it out. So there is a difference between my personal sex life and the work, but I don't see this as work. To me, I still think of sitting in rush hour, sitting behind a desk, and that's work. Like, what I do, I enjoy it so much that it doesn't feel like a long day in the office today, long day in the bedroom. Yes, it's work, but I don't see it as that.
But after number 525, you must be
Yeah.
thinking I wouldn't mind having a bit of free time now.
I mean, I was asked non-stop, like, do you want a break? Do you want a 5-10 minute sort of, break? But no, with that day, I was so excited. I had so much adrenaline. It was a day I'd been planning, a day I'd been wanting to happen for such a long time. I was just so excited that I didn't sort of want it to stop.
Just on the work question.
Yeah.
There are a few sex worker collectives around the country who are unionising. And there's actually one group in Glasgow that has successfully unionised. It's all about better pay and better work conditions, making making it safer for these women to be at work. Is that something that you would support? Would you look at doing a
safer in what sense? Are they escorts or content creators?
These are
Mostly strippers,
they're strippers.
I think,
Yeah, they are strippers, and they work in a few bits of BDSM, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah. No, not anytime soon. I don't understand enough to be able to, putting myself in that position. There's still a lot I don't know. Even about sex work, God, I still have to Google different sex positions. So I'm not in a position to...
I don't think that's a prerequisite of being in a union. I don't think
You don't need to
we're
be an
going to go
expert.
through the Kama Sutra. If you don't know one, you can't join.
Flashcards.
This is your sex exam.
Where is
Yeah.
your union license?
There's still enough. I don't know enough. So it's not something I do anytime soon, but I do want things to be different. So yeah, at the moment, no, but in the future, possibly.
Do you mean safer? Would you want better work conditions?
I think, yeah, obviously I 100% want it to be safer, but as a online content creator, it's down to me to put myself in a safe environment. If I make a sex tape, I'm the one that books the hotel. I'm the one that books in the guy I sleep with. So it's down to me to book a hotel in a safe place. It's down to me to check who that guy slept with before and get some references. A lot of people put themselves in situations and then wonder why they're in it. If you're going to book a really dodgy hotel and then walk in and next, thinking, oh, this seems a bit unsafe. Or if you're booking a guy to work with that you've not done zero background checks on, you're sort of, I'm not saying you'd ever be asking for it, but do your research. It's like if you booked a hotel, at least check the reviews before you turn on. If it's a shithole, don't go crying about it if you've not looked on TripAdvisor.
I guess if you compare unionising sex work to more traditional labour, I guess you aren't the person who'd benefit from union. I guess I'm assuming you can dictate what you do when you do it entirely. And a much smaller creator or somebody who works in a client-facing sex work environment, they're the person that would benefit from a union. And someone who doesn't have your experience, it's in everyone's interest to keep you safe. Whereas someone without that following and that kind of team behind them, they could make mistakes or just have a lack of inexperience.
I don't know, it's hard. And I'm probably going to sound really harsh saying this, but a lot of the sex workers are just stupid and they put themselves in really unsafe environments and then they blame everyone else around them. Sex work, I've always been supported. There's always been group chats. There's always been pages you can go to, people you can go to for advice. There's a lot out there. There should be more for, say, men's mental health as opposed to sex workers. Sex workers, there is a lot of support there. Sometimes you'll say they're not. There isn't, but there is. So I don't really feel that sorry for the sex workers. So at the moment,
What do you mean about men's mental health?
I just mean in general, these better things I'd want to spend my time on helping and making safer as opposed to sex workers.
If I was thinking about sort of who would benefit from a union, and I think about the documentary,
Yeah.
Ed's right. I don't think of you. I think of the younger OnlyFans creators in that school scene who, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they got paid for participating in that.
No.
It was sort of by association with your brand that they were kind of being compensated. That for me is something that I would look at very clearly and go, you're working, you should be paid for your work.
But it's like a YouTuber, any content, you're not guaranteed to be paid. Sometimes I do pay the people for my shoots. It depends what they're getting out of it and if they're getting the content. Like as a whole, I'll keep the content, so I pay the content creators for their day. And the day wage I give them is more than they earn in a month because I am generous. But with the content, it's down to them. I'm not responsible if your content's failing. It's not my fault.
So is it, I'd be interested to know like the economics of it. Like
Yeah.
if you shoot something together, you might agree, no, we'll both take the resulting video and we'll
As a
publish it
whole,
ourselves.
yeah.
Or if you're not going to, I will pay you to participate and just publish it myself. Is that kind of how it works?
For sure. As a whole, it is say if you had OnlyFans or Fansly, we'd meet up, we'd shoot content, we both walk away with the content. It's down to you to edit it. I do my own edit. We post it because you'd have different subscribers. You might not market yourself that much. Whereas if I'm marketing myself every day, why should you get my sort of money? But yeah, it's like I said, it's down to them to do their own marketing. It's not my fault if they're shit.
I just want to press this point about Tate. I'm sorry we sort of spoke about it, but I want to go back to it. Like, in the documentary, you said you felt like you were both misunderstood.
Yeah.
And I asked you about it, and I don't feel like I understand what you meant, because I think he's quite open about what he thinks. Like he said it to you, right? He said women shouldn't have the vote, that like a wife is her husband's property.
Yeah.
He said other, if not more egregious things than that. So what do you mean when you say he's misunderstood?
More like misunderstood in terms of online. Like everyone thinks he's disgusting and horrible and going to be a horrible person to meet. And he said himself in a podcast, like anyone that's actually met him sort of says what I said, was polite, respectful.
I'm not
We
sure
got
everyone
along.
would say that.
Huh?
I'm not sure everyone he's ever met would say
Well,
that.
not everyone, but like as a whole, when he's meeting people for business and work, like that's what they'd say about him. It's the same with me. So when I said we're misunderstood, I meant it from that perspective. I meant what you read online is probably going to be very different to the sort of time you meet him.
The only content though I've consumed about Andrew Tate would be like the self-published content.
Yeah.
I didn't get the best impression of him, particularly about what he. I mean, are you alluding to like that it's a character maybe with him, because he says things that I don't have a direct quote and he's quite litigious, but he says things that I would argue he perhaps doesn't want women at the same table as him, or he does think that a woman needs to be in check to her husband or at the behest of her husband.
Yeah.
And I that's from his own mouth. It doesn't sit particularly well with me.
Oh yeah, I could never date Andrew Tate at all. Like he was like, women should do what I say. Women should do this. God no. Like I said, I could burn a frozen pizza. Like I can't cook. So me and him would never get along on that level at all. And women should be able to vote. And like, he would want a missus that just listens and obeys. But also like he was telling me about his previous exes and like current partners. They also are more than happy to do that. They want the jewelry, they want the lifestyle, they want the money they're offering. And they're okay with that. So if they're okay with that, and that's the style of relationship he wants, then who am I to say no? As long as that relationship's consensual, she's just as much of a sex worker as I am. His probably girlfriends are more sex workers than I am. They've just got one client and I have thousands.
It's transactional, you'd say.
100%. And I think that's what a lot of relationships are like. They don't necessarily see it like that. It's they give their partner sex, their partner's going to work, bringing back the money, covering the house bills. And no, I don't believe that's how all relationships should be. But for some people, that's the relationship they're happy with. And as long as you're happy with that and you know the environment you're in, then I don't care.
I just feel like, and I know you're not necessarily saying that that's not like the platonic ideal of what a relationship is or what sex is, but like surely sex has to be about more than body parts.
Oh, 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Like,
it's
there's
about
a connection, there's
the
passion.
person they belong to, right? It's the person. It's like it's incredibly specific.
Yeah.
It's like who is that person that those body parts belong to, and I guess there's quite a direct contrast there. I think to like 1,000 blokes in ballies, to like that type of argument and that type of idea of what sex is.
Yeah. Sex is different all the time. Your personal sex can vary, and my personal sex to work sex can massively vary as well. And that's fine. Like there's, you could want rough sex one day and the next day you want it really loving. You don't need to have like set sex and that's how it be. You could want the one-off threesome, then you want to go back to your wife, or you want to do different things. And That's what people should understand is I'm not saying this is, you should have a gangbang every day. God, I'd probably break. I would genuinely, you probably would see me cry then. If I was doing a gangbang every day, I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't do it every day. I understand my body and my limits, and that's good. As long as you can do that, you're fine.
A gangbang a day will not keep the doctor away. Like
Several would
yeah,
arrive.
Yeah.
No.
Several paramedics.
That's
My
35.
insides would probably be falling out at that time. So yeah, I'll stick to sort of one every other day.
Moderate. Looking into the future, and like we spoke a little bit about who you were when you were younger,
Yeah.
the person you want to be when you're older. I wonder do you think your perspective on what you do now will change as you get older? And I'm not saying attaching any kind of positive or negative judgment to that. Like, how do you think you'll think back about this time in your life?
I'm very set on the way I believe. I'm not saying this because it's an act. I genuinely believe everything I'm saying and what I'm doing is not harmful. But yeah, my opinion will probably change slightly because my opinion from 5 years ago has changed. My opinion from 2 years ago has changed. So I don't know what my opinion is going to be like long term. And in terms of what the future holds, then no clue. I genuinely have no idea. But I'm really excited by that. Before, my life was so planned and so structured. It became a bit boring. It became a bit like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing next Tuesday. Now I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm excited by the idea of living such a spontaneous life.
What's happy?
I'm happy.
Very happy.
Bonnie Blue, thank you
Thank you.
so much for taking the time to speak to us. It's been really instructive. Like, it's fascinating talking to you. I'm really
Okay.
grateful for you taking the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.